So, hello everybody. We're here with Mark. Hello, Mark.
Hello, I'm going to do that. We do that now.
Yeah,
And we
and
salute and thumbs up.
yeah, and admire your pictures and admire my picture, and we're all having a lovely afternoon here. So, Mark is the founder of You Are the Media. And for those of you who don't know it, how do you not know it? It is a marketing and media learning community that has lunch clubs and conferences and is now online singing and bringing joy to people. Tell us more. It's quite a journey, isn't it?
Yeah, it started back in 2013. I have a marketing business, but in 2013, I thought, well, let me find a way. There's a scrapbook of ideas, yeah? So, but it was very lonely. And the stuff I was sharing was very generic. That was very heavily marketing focused. The audience was me and my mum, but I used it as a means to sharpen my tools, really. The audience was me, and I wanted to become better at how I would communicate with others. And over the years, I got good at writing. I am from an AdLam background, I'm from an agency background. But what I wanted to do was over the years, I started to sharpen my pencil. And so now the thing that I believe in is how we as businesses can build these spaces, and we create these campfires that people think, wow, that's really good. I don't want to go anywhere else. And we can do that via video. We can do that via writing. We can do it via audio. But how do we share this, and how do we find our voice? And so all I did, most things in my life I failed, but then what I did was that I wanted to prove to people and wear the trousers rather than give an anecdotal evidence. This was the living, breathing case study. So this started as an email in 2013. I wrote a book in 2015, 2016. It became the Lunch Club, which was live events. And then it started off with a conference and also a podcast in 2018. And then we've launched in Bristol this year. And obviously with what's happened with the pandemic, and we've launched the You Are the Media Lunch Club online. It's in the past couple of months. So it's all this. It's all about how we can build space and how we can learn from one another. And the most important thing is how we can create togetherness. We can have fun for all this, and I can bring in all these people I've met over the years to say, look, think about this, take this on board. It's not about dictating to people, listen, that's to work like this. When you do email headlines, it's look this way. When we look at SEO, do it. It's not. It's all about trying to figure it. Hold my hands up. It was about figuring this out as we go along. But how can we build community? How can we build togetherness? How can we build learning? So I'll bring all these really good people from over the world, like when you came last year and we had Mark Schaefer for that lovely Friday afternoon over the sea. That was nice, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was brilliant. I love your community, and it talks to people, and it's grown, and it's just marvelous, really, because people like a tribe, don't they? We're good in tribes, and that's the kind of key, I think, which brands forget. I mean, you quoted some research in one of your articles, which I will share, actually, everybody. I'll put the link underneath the video. There was some research about brands failing, businesses failing, because they didn't have an audience. They forget, don't they? People forget.
Yeah, it's a big CB Insights was a big thing that they publish, and it's all about, listen, why do businesses fail? And where we look at failure, we tend to look at when the money pot runs dry, or there is not the right team on board, but it isn't. So they do an autopsy, 100 or so companies. It's not a huge amount, but 42% fail because there was no need for it in the marketplace. There was no audience. And so this research that they do there, it's, for most of us and many businesses, it is tough, and it's going to get even tougher when we don't have the audience, those people in front of us. It's not necessarily, listen, it's there to sell to, but also how we find a means of connection, and how we find this thing of kinship. And it's nice to show the proof, to say, look, everybody, we have to create and what we build, but we have to have people that are receptive, that want to come along for the journey as well.
Yeah, and I mean, we quote it all the time, but most people couldn't care less if most brands disappeared. And you've really just got to work so hard at becoming the go-to, the thing that's important part of their lives. Otherwise, they won't buy from you. Why would they? There's so much choice out there.
There is, and that's where we are today, because that's an interesting point. I just want to follow on for that. We talk as well about a noisy world. And what we're seeing at the minute is things like LinkedIn is extremely busy, but we talk about this very noisy world around us, and this is coming out all directions here, and I'm in this this bubble here, and it's a very competitive marketplace. But it's the thing is not it's not noise. It's not. It's all about sameness, and that's the biggest burden for many businesses, is this thing around sameness. If you can hear that in the background, that's my front door. That's my front door
family coming home. Hey guys, we're live. It's all happening. Yeah, exactly. And you've got to be different. You've got to be relevant. And I think that's where we've kind of drilled down and gone, social media genius, what is that about? It's about relevance. It's about hitting the zeitgeist. It's about hitting people, getting minds and thoughts and brains all working towards, so people really care. It's about helping people care.
Correct.
And also,
can I just quote? Can I listen? This is my It's my favorite quote. And it was Theodore Roosevelt said this. This is me thinking off the cuff of what you just said to him. Nobody cares what you know until they know that you care.
That.
Quote that one. Tweet.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. And that's what I think most brands are going on. I've seen it everywhere. I know you have too, where people are just going on and on and on and on because they're scared, because they can see it all changing in front of them. And, you know, I think if nothing else, this year is all about change. But to just drum on about your own business, what was it you said in the article yesterday? The businesses are very good at promoting their own stuff, basically.
Yeah, we do. Listen, we do. It's great because we cannot get enough by thinking that the world wants to hear more about us. And we see it, and you know, and rightly so. If we've built our businesses, but then again, does anybody else really care about the charity bike ride now, or are we now past it? You know, it's a bit 2013 now with the stuff that we share. Listen, we see it a lot. We saw it a lot at the beginning of the coronavirus, where companies were more than happy to tell us all that they were open for business. I'm not really
expert at this.
I'm not really bothered that my insurance provider is open until 5:30.
Exactly. I'm also not that fussed if somebody thinks they've got all the answers, because I'm pretty sure they haven't, because we're in unprecedented territory. I mean, you know, I don't think anybody knows quite how it's all going to pan out. And so
exactly. So that's another thing that I'm being quite big on, is in this massive time of uncertainty for all of us, look, it's okay to put our hands up and say, look, I don't know. What's the point in going to a webinar that's telling us about, well, listen, the reason companies put on webinars is because they can sell product, is that it relates to our services, and that makes total sense. But at the same time, by telling everybody that we have the answers to the future is a little bit narrow-sighted, because as you said, look, this is new for all of us. We're all having a tough time, and we're all struggling. We're all trying to fight, and we're all trying to, do you know what? Someone used this term yesterday. I was recording for the podcast, the Uda Media podcast, and it was about people that are saying that they've had a good war. I like that phrase. They've had a good war. They've had to fight, and we've had to kind of dig deep and do things that we've never actually done before. But I like that reference.
I mean, massive. I've been on lots and lots of conference calls and webinars with different agencies worldwide, and all of them are saying how much the uptake on digital and social has just accelerated. And I have to say, we've noticed it. We've had a lot of good stuff coming through our doors, but on the whole, what we're also noticing is that there's a lot of uncertainty about how to use it properly, especially from those who are really only just starting to concentrate on it. And, you know, part of the reason we're doing this is to really give everybody a leg up, so that hopefully everybody survives, because we don't want businesses going to war. We don't. Yeah,
listen, well played on your one, taking the initiative by saying, look, well, let's create this forum and this place to share and to take from, and to, you know, take one thing away from this initiative that you're part of. So listen, credit to you, Claire, for doing this.
Thanks.
Look at me picking you up here, eh? Look at this.
Hey, well, hopefully.
One over here. Look at this flow.
Hopefully it'll help somebody, and maybe more than one somebody. So that's great. So what I'd really like to do now is just ask you what tips you've got for brands who are looking to build their audience and build a community around them and be relevant.
Okay, that's a good question. So there's we're looking to build our audience, it all starts, right, okay, let me break this down. The first thing is to recognize what motivates you. So if you're a business, small business owner, it's easy to jump on bandwagons, but we have to recognize what motivates us at the end of the day. So when we talk about audience, for instance, for you in the media, audience has been built around, content has been the glue. I share, I make an unwritten contract, as it were, with everybody that subscribes to receive the weekly email on a Thursday morning. That's the glue that brings it together, is an email, as well as the podcast, as well as the online side with the You the Media Lunch Club. But it all starts with what motivates us. And perhaps, you think that the media landscape is overrun with similar sounding messages. Perhaps you recognize that there is a thing as organic growth without you needing to allocate a huge amount to SEO or pay-per-click advertising. It's all about recognizing what motivates us first of all. And also, this is my other thing as well that I realized, is to find this middle ground between what we do for our businesses, how our businesses make money, and also the values that we have as individuals. So for instance, the values that I have around independence and around ownership, and this thing around connectivity that I genuinely believe in. And I found out the thing and the way that kind of helps on a commercial side as well. This is all about how we can still live comfortable lives and everything else. But how can we find those values that we have as individuals that aligns with our businesses that can bring people together? And we can genuinely do it. Because talking about this thing about what motivates us and why do we want to do it, my next thing about if we're looking to build audience and people around us is know who this is aimed for. When we talk about CB Insights and a huge amount of companies going to the wall because they didn't have an audience. Because we can't think it could be that old, if we build it, they will come mentality. Because what we're looking to be is relevant to the right people. So it's not being relevant to everybody now. For instance, we're finding, I'm loving what we're doing with the Lunch Club online. And what that's done is give us reach. But I would take intimacy over reach any day of the week, and being in a room with people and just enjoying the company of others. But we have to think as well that this amorphous everyone is never a target audience. So we need to think about, so if you're watching this, and think instead about who you're doing this for and the people of who you're looking to attract. And then you shape the narrative around their needs, not necessarily yours that we've been chatting about. And is this just for people that you already sell to, or could your message have a wider resonance and build a bigger audience? And it does come to as well, then just following up just around this bit of the kind of tips, is to what you alluded to a few minutes ago with, look, why should people care? We have to find a way to bring you and the audience together through recognizing the values that you both share. So it becomes easier then. If someone looks at, with you, the media, think about ownership and creation and doing the work, aligns with people far more better than using the words content marketing or something around that. Because just because I was excited around the ingredients of the Marmite jar doesn't mean that other people are. Because the more you lean into these values that you have, the easier it becomes for others to recognize that your content comes from a trusted space. And that's that quote that I mentioned with people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. They're the core things I'd look at, is recognize why should people care about what you create, know who the audience that you're looking to target. And also, but first of all, start at the beginning with, why do you want to do this? Because it takes time. And we can't, and it's easy to jump onto hashtags and everything else, unless it has value and meaning to us as individuals and the businesses that we run as well. It can just become a drain on our resources and time. It's so careful. We have to be so careful with all this. No one wants to be drained. It's draining for all of us. No one wants to be on the knees for all this. We have to be sensitive. We have to know our audience, and more than ever as well. You know what I mean? It is a minefield out there. We have to stand for the things that are right to us.
Yeah, and I think as well, people know instinctively if somebody's just paying lip service. And I think we've seen that highlighted a lot this first half of this year, where there's been a lot going on and the brands have had to respond, and some of them have got it right and some of them haven't. And we've seen backlashes against some of the big brands who are paying lip service, say, to Black Lives Matter, and they didn't care enough, and the consumers knew it. And that's why you get, in the end, often a social media crisis, because there's a backlash about what you're saying or how you're saying it or what people perceive.
Because we can see through it more, can't we?
Yeah. And that's where it comes down to. I think brands have to be really transparent and know their audience and what matters to their audience. And you can't just jump on a bandwagon if you don't care about it. If it, it just doesn't work. People know.
But if you do, then I kind of realised that you can always be like 2 steps ahead of everybody else. So if you kind of have this thing that you believe in, whatever it is, fairness, or something that relates to empathy or something else like that, and then figure out how that connects with your overall business. And so when you can step forward, or you do become a spokesperson within your industry, because again, let's look at the commercial side. This is all about how we present ourselves and can create ourselves as an authority within our marketplaces. This is the thing that generally gets me enthused, because 10 plus years ago, we didn't have that. We had to pay to have that privilege, didn't we?
Exactly. And now brands are having to step up and be leaders because people expect them to be. And I think that's brilliant. They have a lot of power and wealth. Most businesses have wealth. They can help people. They can build the community by doing something that actually resonates with their audience that they care about, the audience cares about. And it's all about walking the walk, isn't it? Value shouldn't just be filed away in the marketing cabinet. They should actually be embedded.
Very much so, because look at the visibility that we have today. Imagine if we're just quiet on every social channel, and then something comes up that we can spout and we can talk with gusto and be vocal about. Whereas if we are I've always believed in this thing of how we're little Hansel and Gretels out there. We're laying these little breadcrumbs that are out there for people to pick up and find their own routes. Because then that's what makes us believable, doesn't it? So rather than us kind of jumping in because we got all enthused about setting up a new podcast. By the way, share this thing. There's a thing called Podfade. Podfade is 7 episodes.
I read that. I'd never heard that before. That's amazing.
Well, we're done, but that's the thing. We jump on. Yeah, this is going to be great. I'm looking forward to doing this. And it's like, oh, God, I lost interest. Didn't really want to do that. That person I was chatting to for ages, it didn't really lead to anything. But if we can be believable as companies, as individuals, then the more I've always been by doing the minimum amount possible, by getting the maximum return.
Absolutely.
So if we have this space that we believe in and what we stand for, then as I said, leave these breadcrumbs and have these clues out there for people to be a part of. And we're trying to figure this out as well. And we mentioned with Andrew Davis in a recent You Are the Media Lunch Club, this thing about having a quest and not having the easy answer, but we're on this because this is in part of our DNA and our heart and our souls.
Yeah. It's like, Philip Kotler said, got to be vulnerable. And it's vulnerability that is, you can't just say, I know all the answers. This is a journey we're going on together. We want to be the providers, all of us, all the businesses want to provide the best we can, whether it's goods or services, to the people who need that. And we've got to bear in mind that that's a journey. 10 years ago, you could stand there and advertise and say, buy it, buy it, buy it. It's brilliant. People aren't buying it. We're not buying advertising.
Interesting thing you mentioned on vulnerability. We had a chap called Doug Kessler on Lunch Club last month. And Doug was talking about that vulnerability comes from confidence. And it's those people that have been okay to talk about failures. Listen, hands up this side, from deleting things like the entire You Are the Media database to the podcasts that we've had. But it's kind of the thing of vulnerability. We always talk about vulnerability, but it's kind of like he's saying, look, vulnerability is a confidence thing, and the more you are able to step up, or what we're talking about here, the longer that you are in it, the easier it becomes.
Yeah.
I mean, you approaching me now to say, Mark, can you be a part of this? It's like, of course, it's great.
Yeah.
But you did that is because you kind of know my side. Okay, we're familiar with one another, but it's only because of me being in this space for a number of years that it becomes easier to ask. And that's the same for all of us.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's fundamentally what a community is about, isn't it? It's finding people who need what you have, that can help you with what you want, and working on it together. And I think it's very humbling, and businesses would do well to prioritize that, in my opinion.
Here's a really good book to read for anyone that's listening to this, but thinking, well, how this whole, I've built everything like from You Are the Media. It's a brilliant book by Amanda Palmer, and it's called The Art of Asking. She did a TED Talk a few years ago.
I'll put the link underneath.
Put the link, right? So it's on YouTube. And if we're talking about this thing of community and building, people are exactly what you're talking about here, or people wanting to get involved. So it's called The Art of Asking, and it's brilliant. And sometimes, you know, it's how we reach out to people and we get people to help and muck in, and even like doing the selling for us. The lady called Sarah Townsend, she just released her book for freelancers. Yeah. So and I love this example of, she armed everybody on social. She sent books out. So when it was launch day for National Freelancers Day on Thursday, the 18th of June, everybody, it was an avalanche on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, because she had done the work and got to know people and say, right, over to you guys now. Everyone was doing their promoting for me blimmin' doing it now on this. Did all the
listen to you. I'll put the link on that as well afterwards. But that's it.
For freelancers. She is genius because she got everyone to do the marketing and the sales for her.
But that's because she knows her community and she knows what works. So everybody rallies and everybody wants to share. And that's where it becomes a masterclass, really, doesn't it? Isn't it?
So she's getting mileage out of our conversation.
You know what? That's been an absolute pleasure. So I'm going to share your resources underneath. One thought to close on about community or social media genius.
I guess of all the stuff that we've already touched upon, but is the only means that we can find longevity in our message is to share the things that we believe in, and that we can't find elsewhere. You know, that we can't necessarily find via an answer on Google. The reason we can have longevity is to recognize these pain points and this connection that we have with other people, and we can dig deep together. I
love that. Recognize what can't be found on Google. Well done. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Chat soon. Bye.